We've been waiting on a team like this in North America for a while now. We've been spoiled by how good the NRG, formerly G2 roster, has been, and so spoiled that maybe we got a little bored of how dominant they were. We needed a new injection of talent from some young guns. Of course, there's a lot of names out there that are exciting. Five Up just had him on the podcast, friend of the pod. Wavy, of course. There's a lot of names that are interesting, but it's been a while since we had a fresh new team who seemed like they could actually challenge for something. There have been the teams that have been around for a while. Gen.G just reload with Justin. They're new. They're back. They have some good young players who are, we're a little more aware of Cheese and Magic Bear. There, of course, is Team Ultimates, who's on the other side here. A team that I was iffy on. Seemed like they were just the best of the rest in North America until they end up going to the grand finals in Birmingham. But SSG have arrived in a big way this split. It's probably important to take a step back and talk about how we got here with our North American 2 seed for Raleigh, which is very, very impressive. As we watch them here on Kofheer point of view, their newest pickup, as we watch them dismantle the Ultimates for the second time in this Open 6 event. And what on earth was that flick there from Kofheer? That was pretty crazy looking. His first killer tries to go the other direction. This SSG team who ran over this Ultimate squad twice in this Open 6 in dominant fashion both times, as a little misdirection there is going to catch Kofheer a little bit out of position. Ultimates are going to open the scoring on Forbidden Temple here. Let's talk about how we got here with this team. Reveal, who just took a nice challenge on the ball, and Scribbles, who is taking it the other direction to try and make something happen on the offensive end here, were two of the three members of the Snowmen, the young, upstart, scrappy, exciting roster from the first split. And their namesake, Frosty, the Snowman, was really kind of a do-it-all, heliocentric, squint your eyes, you see a little bit of a first killer on Rogue kind of setup there, as another one is going to leak in here for Ultimates. That counterattack is what they love to do. Frosty was do-it-all for this team, but not in a way that ultimately led to success. He took the most shots for this team, and he had the most saves per game for this team. So he was doing a lot of heavy lifting on both ends, but that was not because he didn't have teammates who were talented. This Reveal and Scribbles tandem is one of the most dynamic, mechanical, engaging duos that we have in the league. They just seemed like sometimes the lights were a little too bright in Split 1, as they're going to answer there. And even last season, when they were the Snowmen, they're still such a young team, that all of these reps are very important to their growth. And a double commit there from Chronic and First Killer is going to allow SSG to very quickly get back into this game here, as Kofheer is going to take his time picking up this ball, getting the boost. Nice challenge there on First Killer. Pop this one to the middle. A little disjointed here from the Ultimates as they try and get back onto attack. Frosty was doing a lot of heavy lifting, like we talked about. And ultimately, it's one of those things where we see this in the NBA where, if you're going to be a player who has a really high usage, once you get into a situation where you kind of need your other guys, something like Anthony Edwards, maybe from the Timberwolves, just got eliminated in the Western Conference Finals. If Ant doesn't have it going, and you typically don't ask your other guys for a lot, it's kind of hard to be like, hey, can you guys get it going? We won't get too deep into how okay that analysis was because of players like Julius Randle, but my point is, when Scribbles and Reveal were called on in big moments, it just seemed like the lights were kind of too bright, and Frosty was always trying to jump rotations, take the ball, and ultimately, despite the numbers and how great all three of the players were, They just could not be better than the sum of their parts, unfortunately, in split one. Enter Kofheer, who is our player that we've been watching over the course of this game. An excellent split one with 9 lives with Chicago and Hoxer. A player that I was kind of surprised they picked up. I didn't really know what that roster was going to look like. Who's going to do the heavy lifting offensively to fill in for LJ? It turned out it was Kofheer, who was second in goals per game in split one and has not slowed down at all, being fourth in North America for the split two with SSG. This is a team that is just scoring way more efficiently, taking more shots, have become an excellent defensive team with both Scribbles and Reveal being top 3 in North America for saves per goal allowed for this team. A fast team, a dynamic team, one who the headlines have talked about how physical they've been, above like 7 demos per game, which is just impossible, as Scribbles is going to get a really nice recovery save there. Reveal heading the other direction. Gets 2 there in Chronic and First Killer, and look at how this play is kind of falling apart. Chronic with no boost trying to transition out. LJ's going to get a double here, but it's going to sneak off his hood the wrong way. And here we go the other direction. The Kofheer has just been a breath of fresh air for this team, who's going to call First Killer's bluff here and then say, hey, why don't I get a triple touch in overtime to sink this team? We got to watch that one back. First Killer's going to try and take this one slow, get control off his backboard, just kind of falls off the ball, and perfect landing and finish there from Kofheer, who is going to stuff the stat sheet, no goose eggs on his tally. I want to talk more about how Kofheer has changed this team and how the introduction of Kofheer has been an injection for his teammates, but also how Reveal and Scribbles have developed as players themselves. Let's dive into some more stats and watch them take down another very strong North American team in Gen.G. Can we go anywhere but Champs Field if it's available? Reveal point of view going up against Gen.G here. Not a lot of exciting decals for this team, which is going to put them a little lower on my excitement meter personally. Look at Gen.G rocking the full org decals. You love to see it. Although I got to say, I'm partial to when teams will do like 2 players in the org decal or 2 players in matching decals, and then they have like the team captain or the number 1 striking option will like rock his own unique, kind of like how, you know, like in volleyball where like I don't know, it seems like it's always the shortest player, maybe that's the captain. I don't know much about volleyball, but they'll always have one player who's in a different uniform. All right, let's get back to the game. Reveal point of view, here comes Justin, and Reveal's just going to say, thank you very much, I will take that. And that's a whoopsie for Magic Bear, and Cheese tries to save the play, but that is going to open things up. Dicey play there from MB. Let's talk about Reveal a little bit, who's had more of a balanced approach in this second split. Funny enough, he was the number 1 scoring option for SSG in split 1, even though Frosty was taking just an overwhelming amount of shots. Frosty, as a quick aside, the most inefficient player in North America, for any player who played at least 35 games, that is, in split 1, he shot like 18%, which is crazy because of how many shots he took. It was like him and Daniel. It was just like, are you guys okay? And even in this split, I think he's still like bottom 3 for Frosty. So some growth to be had there for sure. But Reveal ended up being the number 1 goals per game player, even though he was well below Frosty in shots per game. He's actually scoring the same amount of goals per game in split 2 at 0.74, even though now he is the 3rd most goals per game for the team. So still still scoring the same amount of goals per game split over split, but now instead of being the number 1 option, he is 3rd. And that again just goes back to how fast and how many shots this high octane SSG offense has been. They're actually 2nd in this split in goals for North America, behind I think it's Gen.G, if I'm not mistaken. But Reveal has taken a big step up as a playmaker. I think that's the operative word for him, where he has kind of grown. He's up to, I think, 3rd in North America in assists per game. And again, part of that is just because of the system, right? This is a much more offensive minded team now. They can do more on the ball. Scribbles getting more involved. We'll talk about him in a second. Respect where it's due to their coach, Expere, who has experience molding a team of young, dynamic players. He, of course, was the coach for the Team Liquid roster of Oski, Atau, and Achronic, who were putting up numbers as a super young team a couple seasons back. But Reveal, um, it's just this whole team, and this is kind of a reveal point because he's at 60 percent goal participation for this team, but we're talking about balance for him as a player. Balance as a team, Kofheer also at 60% goal participation. So this is just a team who are spread a lot more evenly than they were before for a team that in a lot of ways was kind of built around Frosty in a lot of ways. Biggest assists per game of any player in North America between splits in Reveal from 0.54 to zero point 0.7, which I have in my notes actually puts him fifth overall. And this game just been a little bit of your turn, my turn as Magic Bears trying to take this here. Reveal gets bumped, but still has enough boost and force to get through a second one there and is going to deny Justin again. Scribbles on the ball. Let's talk about him and his development. We're gonna watch him. No offense meant. We're gonna watch him in the game three for things that still might scare me a little bit about this team. Be question marks for this team. Scribbles has been a revelation. This split has come up a ton. The biggest thing for him, and he's the head of the snake for this team defensively, but his growth defensively has been huge. He is he's up nearly a save per goal allowed per game, which is crazy. That's a huge jump. Him and Reveal are both top three in North America in that stat, which essentially is saves per game, but just a little more precise. As Cheese gonna lace that one. Huge shot for Cheese. I know this isn't a Gen.G video, but Kofheer gonna kind of turn that one over. The pop there, and just a great shot there from Cheese. Great placement. As it looks like we're headed to overtime, but that save per game bump has been just huge. Scribbles, like I said, head of the snake, but this team defensively, one of the things I've been most impressed by when watching film on them, preparing for this video, has been the way that they layer their defense. As Reveal, huge save there to send us to overtime in the first place. But this team seemingly always do a great job, especially if you want to go back and watch some film from the two Ultimate series they played. They did such a good job against Ultimates by always having two defensively available. One guy to challenge the ball, to kind of play the ball, and another to play the fake or kind of be there. Even there, look, Kofheer and Reveal both kind of Xing across one another defensively. Makes it really tough to score on them because you got to beat two, which is just a tall task. And Reveal going to sneak underneath that just an air dribble bump, grab the boost. Huge save there by Kofheer. Reveal up so fast. This team is just really, really strong defensively to go along with their physical, fast-paced offensive style. Another great cut there from Reveal. And we're going to try and get out of our own half. But I think one of the things that's been most impressive is this team defensively, but also the teams that they have been able to beat. You know, the big thing you want from your teams, we've talked about this with Ninjas in Pajamas. We've talked about this with teams like Gen.G from Split 1, where it's like, yes, you guys are clearly good, but you got to beat the talent above you. And this Space Station team have been able to do that. We, of course, just watched them take down Ultimates. Here they are trying to drive a dagger into the hearts of a very good Gen.G team. But they've been able to domestically, get it done against some of the best teams in this region, which is, if you're a fan and a believer in this roster, is kind of where you're looking when you're talking about this team being a force at Raleigh as they try and stuff one in transition there. Now, if you want to be a little bit of a doubter, which is a negative way to put it, if you want to talk about this team's X factor, which is a positive way to look at it, I would say it's Scribbles, but more specifically, kind of just how this team manage high leverage, challenging, difficult situations. Especially in split one, there was some games you can go back and look at where it's just like, I don't know if this team, the lights sometimes seem like they got too bright. And we've seen it a little bit. We're going to watch it in our next series once we reach the end of overtime here, where there's just some moments where it's like, oof, I worry about how that's going to look when we get to the land stage where, it's kind of just a different beast. You can look great online, but the game is just kind of a little bit different. It's kind of like the playoffs in basketball where you can be a great 82 game team, but can you be a great, 3 or 4 round team? It's kind of just a different beast. And for this team, I'll never feel good about where I place them going into Raleigh because it's new, right? We haven't seen any of these players in a LAN environment. As Magic Bear are going to get a little sticky to the ground there, and is going to create a very, very difficult scramble situation here as Justin is going to bail them out and send us back the other way. Scribble's going to take his time, grab his boost, get all the way up, go for the flip reset, gets a huge flick. My goodness, and that's going to get snuck in. Look at this transition play from Scribbles. End-to-end stuff. Nobody's going to challenge him. Magic Bear dusted to commit, and Justin and Cheese and reveal there to sneak one in as he is going to take our MVP. 800 plus points, 5 saves, 2 goals to get it done in a huge moment against Gen.G. These are the kind of wins that change my perspective on a team like SSG. But let's go over to our third game against NRG and watch a little bit of film about why I'm still a little hesitant to crown this team as the next up-and-coming dominant roster in North America. Game 2, Scribbles' point of view, grand finals against an NRG team who were historically good in this event. I think that's an important caveat. This was what was the end? They ended up winning like, what was it, like 95 or 94% of their games or something crazy. Absolutely dominant. They only lost, that's what it was. They only lost, 1 out of 18 games, and it was one against Gen.G. So, is it fair to be like, hey, look at this. This is why SSG aren't going to be good? No, but that's also not exactly what I'm saying. So without further ado, here is a game that they probably would want back against a very, very, very good NRG roster. Scribble's point of view. There's just some moments where this team seemed to kind of get slowed down, get pushed off of their spot a little bit, get a little shaky. And there's a couple of those moments in this game here that I'm going to try and spotlight as we talk through what this team is continuing to do very, very well. Now, I think it's important when you're going up against a team like NRG, when you want to talk about like, what is this team going to look like at an international spot? They provide the requisite amount of respect to a team like NRG without kind of playing themselves out. And let's watch this play back a little bit here. I'm going to pause, if that's okay with you guys. A demo there. We're going to watch Kofheer on 0 boost here. What's the play? Probably not to just give the ball over to Daniel, and then Scribbles is just going to totally whiff and give a layup to Atomic, who is just too nice to put it away. And finally, Daniel here is going to put one in to even up the scoreboard. There's plays like that where I think about this team in a studio setting, in a stage setting, if they end up getting there, being like, ooh, I wonder if there's going to be some growing pains with moments like that might plague them. We've even seen it with a young player like Eugen, who has been incredible for Gentlemates, but have a couple playoff moments, especially in opens 4 and 5, where it's like, ugh, you kind of got to take a couple lumps before you're ready for prime time, as it were. But back to this team. The shooting has been unbelievable, and of course, as soon as I want to get into my notes, they pull off another play that I want to spotlight. So if we can go back here for a second, Reveal gets absolutely eaten by Beast Mode. Kofheer is just totally floating, unable to get a touch on the ball. Scribbles probably thought that Kofheer was going to get at least something on it, and he ends up getting caught in no man's land for a very disappointing 2-goal swing there in favor of NRG. Now, let's talk about this team as a shooting roster and what they have been able to do. There is a rarefied air for players who are shooting two different things: above 3 shots per game and above 25% shooting percentage in North America. There's 5 players: Beast Mode, Diaz, First Killer, Ixo, surprisingly enough, and Kofheer. Those are our 5. So still a heavy load for Kofheer. We talked about him still being top 4 in goals per game in North America. And here's the other thing where you want to talk about the pace at which this team is playing. There's only 2 teams in North America who have all 3 players shooting above 3 shots per game. Those are Space Station Gaming. It'd be weird if it wasn't one of those teams, wouldn't it be? If I just had a fun fact about like Strictly Business and Evo on a SSG video. SSG and Gen.G, no surprises there. That team is pedal to the metal, especially this split. So this team get up and down. They, like we said before, are second in goals for in North America, which is up from 7th in split 1. And they're third in goals allowed, which is crazy to be not only a top 2 offense, but a top 3 defense. Not a lot of teams doing that, especially when you consider the fact that they're allowing a ton of shots. They're almost allowing 10 shots per game, and yet they still are allowing such a small amount of goals, which again speaks to that defense and that layered structure that it seems like they are relying on quite a bit. And also the growth and development of a player like Scribbles, who is really the anchor of that defense there. Trying to break out here with a tie ball game, send it down the other direction, and a 3-on-1 here that Scribbles is going to try and defend. Gets over one, and reveal is there. But do you see what I mean, where NRG kind of just take them out of what they're trying to do? This is a lot clunkier of a game. This is not as fast and fluid of a pace that we've seen against Gen.G and Ultimates beforehand. This is a little wonkier of an approach for SSG, who aren't playing with that same supersonic speed that we've seen from them before. And if you're talking about what teams might want to do to them, I'm thinking about some of our teams who might just try and make them uncomfortable, get them stuck in the defensive end, especially some of our European teams who can try and match that physicality a little bit more. Teams, of course, like Carmine Corps, who can challenge anybody. I think even Vitality can play with some pace, and we've seen Monkey Moon, especially in Open 6, try and get more physical for his role as an enforcer. Even a team like Dignitas, who are really good at slowing down opposing teams. Falcons, who always try and stuff teams in their own box. Furia, who can play up and down. I just feel like there's a lot of teams who can take SSG out of what they want to try and do. Although, maybe they're just young enough. I've done this before where it's like, let me think about this like the NBA, where it's like they're too young. They can't do it just yet. And I'm reminded time and time again where it's like, that's not a 1-to-1 parallel to how the RLCS works. Sometimes young players are just really good immediately. But all of these stats to say, the numbers look great. I'm much more of a believer in this team than I thought I would have been heading in here. But I still think I'm going to default ultimately to the fact that I'm a little worried about what this team is going to look like when the lights are really bright, especially with a player like Scribbles, who has had just some moments over this season. Fair or not, when you ask me to recall like plays that stick out from Scribbles over the course of this season, a few of them are negative defensively. And there's just nothing that I can do about that at this point. Although, again, flowers where they're due. He has probably had, if we want to talk about like most improved players, probably the player for me in North America over the course of the split. And I kind of talked over this goal. If we can actually watch it one more time, excuse me, and just kind of see how this one is going to come to be. Scribbles does get that boost off of Atomic Beast Mode with a huge challenge there. Scribbles wants to kind of bring that down and control it, and a perfect shot by Daniel. Slow but precise placement as Scribbles, look, doesn't even score a goal. 7 saves. Just unbelievable stuff from him, losing to a very, very good NRG team. What do you guys think about this SSG roster? Are you higher on them than I am? Um, I think the consensus is kind of the cop out, where it's like, I could see this team being round 5. I could also see them making a top 6 or top 4. It's like, okay, that's a pretty wide gap. Um, I haven't done as much thinking about Raleigh as I wanted to, especially because we just had our teams lock. But for me, I think I'm probably going to end up being lower on them than most. And I'm going to be happy to be proven wrong. But that's my thoughts about SSG. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in to listen to me talk about the team who is #1 in North America for save percentage, 68%. Wow. Guys, until next time, thank you so much for checking out the content, and take it easy.